My name is Rachel McLeod. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and emotional wellness coach. And today I'm going to be talking with you about what your body is trying to tell you and why listening to it can get you more transformation than a year of therapy. And that's a bold statement, and I'm going to just run with that because it's true. And, and I'm going to tell you why so that you understand why and that you learn really to come about this whole transformation and healing process in a totally different way. In a way that connects you and that really reconnects you to yourself, to your body, to your mind, and really creates a lot of function and wellness. And that you need connection in order to do that. And so one of the things that we do is wherever we have pain, we can really start to disconnect from it. And unfortunately, what happens is that the pain and trauma and anxiety and depression can be experienced in our body. And so, and we're going to talk about that a bit, but what happens when that's the case is that we will disconnect from our body. And we'll do all sorts of things. And that is really, there's a lot of problems that come there because your body is it's your best team player. It's the one that keeps you on this journey. It's your heart keeps pounding, your lungs keep moving. Everything in your body is all geared up for you and your higher consciousness to have an amazing experience down here, or to have the experience on earth that you're supposed to be having. But so many times we can really disconnect, or we can feel angry with our bodies. We can become self-hateful because of how we interpret our body as slowing us down, interfering with us, causing problems, and all these things. And that's really, really challenging. But that's also, the body is one of the keys to really deep, quick transformation. And so reconnecting there and doing your work there is so powerful, because I'm going to tell you why here in a little bit so that you understand. But it's all part of the healing pieces. You cannot expect to become emotionally well if you're going to be disconnected from your body. If you're dissociating, right? That's one of the ways we disconnect from our bodies. We just leave. We just check out. Maybe we watch ourselves go through life and on autopilot, right? Because we're just not going to get involved. Or maybe we have parts of our body we just won't look at anymore. Or we're getting messages all the time from our body, but we don't want to pay attention. And guess what? You got to learn the language of the body, because it speaks body. It doesn't speak words. And that's one of the reasons why talk therapy doesn't create deep enough results, is because the parts of the parts of you that are creating the symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress they don't care about words. They don't speak words. And that's why talk therapy is such a frustration for people, because they're like, okay, now I've spent all this time in talk therapy and I know why I have these problems, but I can't do anything about it. And yes, that's what happens. It's like you learn all the things, but nobody in your body cares. They're just like, so, and what? And move aside because we're about to spiral out. Thank you. Right? And that's a frustrating thing to do, to be on. So I'm going to tell you, this is where this is the money. This is where it's like, you want results. This is where you're going. Oh, yes. Metaphysics working amazingly. Yes. Yes. And so, okay. That totally threw me. I love the comment though. I'm not so, yes, my brain just went in 3 different directions. So I'm going to gather it back. Okay. When you start working with your body and you start listening in, this is where you finally get what you were in this for. Where you can start turning off the alarms and the bells and the whistles in your brain that are so distracting and painful. So let me tell you a couple of things. So a lot of things with healing, from symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress is very counterintuitive. We spend a lifetime, like I said, running away from symptoms, but really, 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 it's really time to go towards them. And I'm not going to tell you how in this video because it can be dangerous. So some of you are like, whatever, I do dangerous for breakfast. Yeah, not on my video, you don't, okay? So get some support with that. but I'm going to tell you why. I want you to really move into take action mode. I want you to know there are solutions, and I want you to know exactly why. And this will also help you avoid the snares and the webs of not solutions. Because you know, if it doesn't involve your body, it's not going to go as deeply as you want it to go. God, I don't know. Excuse my language. Your transformation is not going to go as deeply as you want it to go. Okay, stay with me here, everybody, including my brain. Okay, so I want to say a couple more things. Okay, let's talk about the body for a second, and maybe we'll talk about the survival system. Okay, so you've heard me talk about the survival system before, and this is the part of the brain that stops all. It stops all healing activities. But what it also does is it receives all the information from the senses first. And if that information that it's receiving from all of your body, from all of your senses, if that information is interpreted as safe, then it gets to pass through the healing pathways and normal thinking ways, and it goes to your thinking center, and that does a whole lot of stuff with it, right? And it solves problems, matches things with your values and your morals, and this is where this is your decision making and where you get choices. If your survival center receives information that it interprets as dangerous, all of a sudden it starts the alarms, and it really takes over that information, and it won't move it into the thinking center. And so you've just got like danger, danger, danger going off. And that signal is very much paired with what's going in your body. And if your sensation, so there's a whole feedback network here, right? And your survival system can play your nervous system like a piano. It can play your body like a piano. If it's got all these notes here, and it's just playing it. If it says go to sleep, it just presses that button, and you just fall out. And this happens to lots of people. Sometimes it plays the fatigue buttons, and it presses all of those, and now you're tired all day long. Your legs feel like lead, your arms feel like lead. Or maybe it's like we got to get this heart rate going, and so it's pressing on that, and it's pressing on this, and it's pressing on that, and so there's all this stuff going on. And so it's making all this beautiful music, it thinks, but it's not. It's chaos, and it's racing thoughts, and it's circular thinking, and it's the what ifs, and it's all the survival strategies are going, but your brain isn't quite working right because it's not under its own compulsion. It's under the authority of the survival center, and it's not going. And so that is, and really what your survival center is all about is keeping you safe. And it's keeping your body alive. That's what it cares about the most. And so here we go, okay? So let's break this down into slow motion now, okay? People, when they have symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, they usually feel it in some places, like they feel nauseous. And every time this thing happens, they feel a pit in their stomach and nausea. That is stuff that's going, there's a relationship between your body and your survival system. And if we were to take a look at your brain, we'd be seeing the survival system lighting up. And when you're there, it's just like this feeling, right? And it's in there, and and you're trying to carry on your conversations. Maybe you're in a meeting, and you're going on talking about this stuff, but really your brain keeps coming back to your stomach. Oh my gosh, because that's what it's worried about. So your attention now is split. Right? And this is some of the problem with anxiety. And now, oh my God, maybe I have, like, the thoughts go off. Maybe I have cancer in my stomach, or maybe I have this or that. And now your brain is split in 3 different directions, and you're at a meeting and you can't pay attention. But you're trying to focus, but your survival system is getting things, the party started. And so you've got a lot of problems here. And so your thinking center is shutting down. You're in meetings, you're trying to do this, and you can't hardly think very well, and you're very distracted, and your heart starts racing because now the stomach has caused heart stuff. And then your shoulders start tensing up, and your body is just doing all this stuff. But let me tell you what, there are ways to tune into these things, and they will tell you exactly what is going on. And ultimately, the communication between the brain and the symptoms in your body has to be disconnected. It has to be processed. It has to be interrupted. And they don't interrupt by words. So you got to interrupt them anyway. And that's when you can get your thinking center to do this processing for you. And it's what goes ahead and rewrites the code between these guys. As far as I'm making this stuff up, but this is exactly how it works in my world and how I get people results. So you're just going to have to listen to my stories or go listen to some neurosciences like nerd talk, which I love, but it's not as fun for everybody. So this is what you're going to get. Okay. So you have these things going on, right? And, or some people have symptoms that come on and they feel like they can't get enough air. They can't get enough breath, and that's a problem. A lot of times lung stuff is grief. And there are so many more, like I could go on because this is what I do, but there's so many ways to tune into the body to find exactly what you're looking for. And then to take that thing and move it through the healing pathways so that it's not just stuck in your body anymore. And this is where we get the mind-body connection and we get so much healing done. And that rewrites all the code and upgrades your subconscious mind, and boom, you're done. When I'm working with people, I know that we are making progress because I will have them rate their sensations in their stomach and their body. We find these things. I'll have them rate it. And then we'll do an intervention. We'll do a before and after. And a lot of times what happens is the intensity starts going down. Sometimes what happens is it starts moving. Now it's in the shoulders. It was in the chest. Now it's in the shoulders. Good. We're following the trail. We're helping the brain work it out, and it's moving. Okay. And then when we're there, then we're going to take the intensity and we're going to take what's the communication from it. And then we're going to use the interventions, and it's going to keep reducing until it is you can think the same thought without having the same sensation. I was doing this with somebody who has a vomiting phobia, and they were just having this sense of panic come over them. And I don't know if that's, yeah. And so, but as we were doing it, we were finding the panic in their body and clearing it, finding it and clearing it, finding it and clearing it. And so as we do that, they're opening this up, right? The mind-body connection, because when the panic hits their body, if it doesn't create the same sensation, it doesn't alarm, like the communication between the survival system isn't the same, and they don't have to get hysterical and run screaming from the building. And that is where the win is, because now they don't have to be under the control of, or out of control of their life when there's people around that could be vomiting. Right? Same thing with phobias. I already said phobias. Trauma. There are times when the body it remembers those things. I remember I was working with a woman, and I was showing her how to do this, and she asked me to do the tapping on her body. That was when I did that. I don't do that as much anymore, but she also had an intellectual disability, and so I was going to help her with this. And I asked her if I could hold her arm so I could use some of her points for tapping. And so I did, and I grabbed her arm like this very slowly and gently, but all of a sudden she went into a huge flashback, and she freaked out, got rigid, and she was like, and then I was like, what's going on? Because I'm like this. What happened here? And she is like, that's where they changed me up, and long story short, that was not a good situation for anyone involved, but I could not hold her arm there. So we worked on clearing it from her arm, and then she was ready to go and work on what we actually were doing, because I could then touch her arm again. It wasn't activating the same distress. Right? And so if we can clear this from her arm, what does that mean for things like rape? Right? When people can still feel the sensations of that on their body or within their parts, right? And I've had people come and do work about that, and we work on clearing that from their body so that the memory isn't stored in their body anymore. And that's the deal. And that's why talk therapy is not that effective, because it only works on it from the mind, from the cognitive perspective, the conscious thinking perspective. It doesn't get into the body where you need it to be, because the body remembers all the memories too. And it remembers all the smells, it remembers all the sounds, it remembers all the words and all the phrases, and it remembers the temperature in the air, it remembers the fog that you were breathing that night, it remembers all those things, and it interprets them as dangerous. And once that happens, you don't get a logical choice about it. You just go off into fight, flight, freeze, or faint, some form of panic, some form of distress, some form of desperation, some form of grief, without even getting a choice. But once you clear it from the body's memory, your survival center is much happier. Your survival center doesn't care what's in your thoughts about it, really. It only cares about the body, really. So if you're clearing this stuff out of your body, the memories of this, the feelings of this, the alarms that are here in your body. And you know you have alarms. Like if, you know, I was working with somebody who had been choked, and they were having to do this training for their job. They had to do it every year, and every year they just panic about it up to the point, and then they'd go into a panic attack then, and then whatever. And she was like, I am going into it this week. Let's use this as a demonstration, please. And so that's what we did. We spent about 10 minutes on it and was able to clear that from her throat. She went to her training. She said, I did it. I didn't even like hyperventilate. I didn't have to leave the room, which I've had to do 18 years in a row. And this time I didn't have to do it. And so I was able to finish. And it was a major source of embarrassment and shame for her, because her body was panicking, even though she knew logically, like, this is not the same situation. Can we move on? And the brain was like, no, what are you talking about? We're going to die, you know? And that's a frustrating place to be. And that separates, right? It separates us from our body. It separates us from our mind. And we never know when it's going to trigger. And it really puts us in opposition. And now our conscious mind is thinking, oh my goodness, we don't want to wake up the beast, you know? And then we have to like make big workarounds just to avoid the beast. And that makes everything more difficult, right? I mean, most people just get to like walk through their life. No, not you. You got to go around. And then, oh no, it just learned that it's over there. Now you got to go over. Now you got to go under. Okay. Then you got to take a left and a right. And okay, now you can get there. Over everything, going to the grocery store, you know, trying on clothes, paying your bills, you know, talking to your husband's mom, you know, all these things. And all because our body remembers. And all because our body is trying to tell us, hey, I'm not okay here, you know, I'm worried about this, and it's stored in there. And there's no conscious way for the body to release this stuff without your help. And there's things that can happen accidentally. I mean, you hear all the time of people getting a massage, and all of a sudden they'll just break out into tears and cry, and all of a sudden they're better, you know? Yes, because you use the body. Yoga, same thing. They're stretching. They're all of a sudden coming into the mind-body connection. Now there's communication happening, and the body is getting to release. Running, same thing. The body's getting to release. That alternating bilateral stimulation of running, or opposite. That helps the brain function and heal and move. It's the same thing we're doing when we're sleeping with the rapid eye movement, right? But these are ways the body helps itself heal. And it's not talking. It doesn't care about talking. And you've got to get this from the body. So that's really what I'm trying to say. And guess what? The body is wonderful because it will let go of stuff like this, like that. Literally, I seriously work with people, and I'm like, we've got to identify it in their chest. Literally within 2 minutes, not there, or reduced, or moved. And we just follow it around, and maybe in 10 minutes, the whole project is done. And that is a whole traumatic event that will never be activated or connected to the survival center in the same way ever again. That's powerful. You know, that's powerful. And it gives people their life back, because now they can work together. And when you hear your body's story, because it will tell you all this stuff, it's really, I love it. It's awesome. But anyway, it will tell you all this stuff. And once you hear the story, it's like all of a sudden, all your compassion is activated, all of your self-love, all of your, oh my gosh, really? And now you're connecting with yourself like this, instead of hatred, instead of anger, instead of frustration, instead of feeling stuck and resentful of your body. All of a sudden, you just have this one moment of connection where you see that it's not crazy at all. Like, it's the story it tells you is exact, it is precise, it makes total sense. And all of a sudden it's just processing in, and there's a connection right there. And that is, and you can't take that away, right? Because it's learned to trust. It's learned, the body says, you're listening to me. Oh my gosh, I love you. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were trying to say that this whole time. And now there's confidence and there's a reconnection. And then there's a more willingness for both parts, one, to listen, and two, to let it go. And this happens over and over and over again. And I've just seen miracles with this. I had a young man who couldn't eat and was on Ensure and should not have been on Ensure, but he had so much anxiety in his stomach that his stomach would just reject everything, and so much pain. And we did this like for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden they were eating from that point on. Worm phobias, going from hysterical about worms for 50 years to holding worms happily in 10 minutes. That has to do with the body. That has to do with all of that. All kinds of trauma. Your inner critic, guess what? You can find homegirl in your body. You will find her. She's in there. It's funny. It's weird. I've had people find her in their elbows. Hey, I have no judgment on where homegirl wants to be. There's inner critic. You'll find all these parts of you all over your body. And once you connect with them, some of them are, 6 years old. Some of them are older. Some of them are just, and I'm telling you very abstract ways of looking at this because, there are so many abstract, like your subconscious and survival center aren't thinking centers. So there's so many abstract ways to think about this, and they're all right. They're all accurate. And if your brain likes it, yeah, go with it, right? If the brain doesn't like it, it's not, the door's closed, right? Keep moving, find a different way in. But what I'm telling you is that all the information you need is right there in your body. And what I will tell you is start listening. That stomach ache you might be feeling maybe it's not a physical disease. Maybe it's anxiety. Maybe it's terror. In your lungs, maybe that's grief. Maybe your smoking habit is actually grief. A symptom of your grief. People feel it in their sinuses, headaches. I have people that will, if we're working on one memory, and that memory is a big fat one, we'll go in doses for that one issue and start working on it. But every time we do, a headache comes out, right? So it's like this one memory activates headaches. And so, and headaches say all kinds of things. You should hear their story. So we work to clear the headache from the memory, the headache from the memory. Yeah. Or the memory from the headache, either one. The result is the same, and we're disconnecting them, right? So that you can have the memory without the headache. And if you can have the memory without the headache, all of a sudden you have the memory and your survival system allows it to pass through because it's not setting off the alarms. Right? And now it can go through, and finally this memory might be 25 years old and it's never gotten through because every time it tries to come up, the headache stops it. Right? And so then we're like, and then we got to stop with that and tend to the headache. Right? And so it prevents it from getting passed through for decades. And that's so many of the issues. So many of the issues. And the thing is that your function is all in the stuff that can't get processed. The function you want, right? Because we all have stuff that we're like, gosh, if only I could, I should be able to, but I can't. And, there's all this love around me, but I can't connect with it. There's all this, I've got a beautiful family, but I keep making all these problems, or I have all these dreams and aspirations, but I can't even get to them. That's because, let me tell you where it is. It's in your unprocessed memories. It's in all of that unprocessed stuff. And so that's why it's so important. Don't just say, oh, well, we're just going to leave it there. No, heck no, I'm not going in there. No, that is where you are. Those are your missing pieces. Those are the things that, like if you think about the brain as a railroad track, you have areas where you get to and it just stops. And then your brain says, oh, let's try that again. Surely we'll get through next time. And then it goes again and stops. And you can circle like this. This is a lot of what circular thinking is about, is that there's a missing train track in there. And a lot of that is in your survival center stuff, the stuff that's in quarantine. I called it before quarantining was a thing. Okay, just so you know. I used that. Maybe I manifested this whole thing. Let's not go there. But in this area called quarantine, I like to call quarantine, is the stuff that your survival system says, this stuff is too big for our processor and there's too much pain involved. We'll just put it over here and we'll just keep it moving. So keep it moving, and there's all these strategies to make sure you don't, activate anything in there. You be careful, but this stuff is where are the pieces. Once you grab one of those and you get it through the pathways, all of a sudden your brain is like, oh, we've been looking for that. Let's put that right there. Okay, no, that doesn't quite fit yet, but let's put it over here. And oh, that fit. Okay, and then it just keeps moving, and all of a sudden you have more function. Your train goes farther. And you keep laying those things, you keep pulling stuff out, and you keep putting your tracks together, and you keep doing that, and you keep doing that. And the next thing you know, you're functioning. Your train is moving all the way around. And you can change the train tracks anytime you want. You got to, because you're always outgrowing your current belief system, always. The belief system you had at 17 isn't going to work at 27. It's not going to work at 37. You got to keep, and that might sound annoying to you, but I think that's just par for course. I just don't think we think about that as much. But you're not going to keep your furniture the same way in your house, usually. And if you got kids that are 3, you're not going to keep the same furniture when they're 17, right? I mean, your 17-year-old's not going to go back in a high chair. It's not a thing. But we expect our brains, we expect not to have to get back in there and rearrange our furniture. But yeah, let's rearrange that stuff, because it's going to fit us better. It's going to help us to get where we want to go. And there's better models out there. You can have you a 10-year-old couch, and all of a sudden you can go shopping, in your belief systems, and you can find something that was 10 years old, and you can find a way to amp it up. Maybe you combine it with something, or maybe you're like, ooh, this one's even better. And you can get the brain to do that work. And guess what? You'll feel it in your body, because you need to get this stuff in your body. So, and that's the other thing, is we're taking stuff out, putting stuff in. It's awesome. Doesn't take very long when you get it right, but you got to know that this is what you're doing. And so many people are looking for talk therapy. They don't want to step out of the box and do other things, but this is why you don't get lasting and deep transformation, because there's a whole lot stored in your body that has to get out. It has to come out. And once you start reconnecting with your body will tell you so many things that you join the team. Right now, your body's on your team, as opposed to being some part of you that's just not, and that's some part of you that you're always wrestling with and fighting with. And no, like, you're not supposed to be fighting with your own self. That's how we get that divide and conquer. That's why you can't get the things that you want. That's why you can't create the things that you want. That's why you're not getting to experience the things that you want, because you're not connected enough to create what you want. And that's where you want to go. And let me tell you what, if you've got kiddos, you don't want to be teaching them how to be a divided person. I'm separated from my body. I'm separated from my thinking center, separated from my survival center, and my subconscious mind's on an entirely different page. This happens to us so much. This is how some of our parents were programmed. And they pass it on to us. And we've passed on some of it to our kiddos. But guess what? There is never a time not to change that. It is never too late. That stuff changes dramatically and radically. And that's when we can give it to our kiddos. You can tell them 1,000 times the right way to do something. But their brains are doing a lot more than just listening to your words. They're going to be who you are. There's no way around that. And I talk to moms that want to be in denial about that, but the fact of the matter is that they're not going to care about what you say. They're going to care about who you are, and they're going to model that. They can feel that. They can see that. And that's why doing this self-directed wellness growth is so vital, because whatever you grow, you can give to your kids, right? You don't have to be perfect, but let's get some of this stuff growing. Right? And at least show your kiddos that, hey, you can overcome long, deeply entrenched patterns and get transformation. And if you're going to spend time in therapy, you might as well do it right and hit it and quit it. That's my theory. This is not something that should be or needs to be dragged around. Your brain is ready to go. As a matter of fact, every one of your symptoms of anxiety, depression, or traumatic stress is the result of your brain actually trying to heal itself. And it's just stuck. And so it needs some help. So what I encourage you to do is start working with your body, start listening to your body, right? And then get the tools to clear it. because that ultimately is what we're doing. And how good is it? How good is your body going to feel when you're not having shortness of breath, or your heart's not racing all the time, and you don't have this tension all over your body, and your stomach's not aching, or your legs don't feel like lead? Like, that's good. And let me tell you, if that's happening, your survival center is doing all this, which means then that your thinking center is shutting down. And that means your energies are going out to your arms, away from your digestive system, which means you're not processing your food as well as you could be, or at all. Not at all, but like minimally. And so once your body starts feeling better, so much function and healing and health can come right back online. And that's really, that's where it's at. So at this point, I want you to go ahead and post any questions or comments you have. I'll get to those. And if this is something that you really are ready for, and you want to talk with me to see if this is something I can help you with, and you're ready to take action, you want to plan, you want to get moving, and you want to be able to look up 2-3 months from now and be like, whew, so glad I took action, then go ahead and grab a spot on my calendar, and I will spend an hour with you to help you figure out what's not working, where you want to go, and help you create a plan to get there. If I can help you with that, I will absolutely show you how. And if not, that's okay too. I will help you outline your plan and get you moving and get you to the health that you need. And so if you want to do that, go ahead and grab a spot on my calendar by going to rachelmcleod.com/call. And for any of you who are not feeling that pulse, listen to yourself and follow yourself. If you're looking for somebody locally, find them. But now you know that you need to find somebody who's going to work in the body, who's going to help you with your body. And not just, let me tell you what, there's an intervention out there. I need to look into it more, but I am concerned that it's just body communication and not a mind-body clearing. And I think that is better than talk therapy. And I think it's slower than what could be done. Again, it's just a concern I have. So that's what I'm sharing at the moment. If you have more questions, or if I threw you for a loop there, go ahead and send me a private message. We'll talk about it. Also, that would help me, because then I get your feedback and I know if you were thrown or not. And if you were, probably other people were, and I can clean that up next time. But yeah. So mind-body connection work, and really getting that stuff really resolved. And let me tell you, these interventions are so easy. I have taught them to young children, to people with dementia, intellectual disabilities, cognitive impairment, things like that. And they're powerful and awesome and simple. And there's some of them that really don't even have many negative side effects. So what I'm telling you is that learn these things for yourself. Learn how to do this for yourself, because yes, you will need deeper strategies. You will need, if you've got a disorder, you've got enough of these symptoms or you're just blocked, and you've got enough symptoms that you are blocked, or that you're having, you're not reaching your goals, you're frustrated there, you're going to need deeper strategies. But most of these you can just pick up and start using and see what happens. And that's going to start creating some good stuff for you, and you can keep things moving. The ones I love the best are EMDR, thought field therapy, emotional freedom techniques, and energy medicine. Right? These are 4 of the ones that I'm trained in. This is what I teach my clients. I teach them how to do this very comprehensively, and I teach step by step. So, and with my deepest strategies, right? So we're not just learning these interventions, but the strategies that I've developed along the way to really get results quickly. And so, that's something you can do too. And I encourage you to try it. I sometimes don't like to hand off powerful tools like this, so I'm going to tell you this right now. Sometimes these interventions, and EMDR is definitely not one to learn to try by yourself. That is really dangerous. Don't do it. But emotional freedom techniques, thought field therapy, and energy medicine have interventions that are really easy, powerful, and things you can use yourself. what happens is when you are working with the survival center, sometimes you're using these interventions and you get really dramatic results. Like I got a really dramatic result when I tried mine the first time. I was using it on insomnia. I could not fall asleep. I had 3 children under 3, and I need to go to sleep sometime. Somebody's gonna wake up. They were all on different sleep schedules, right? I mean, it was madness, and I just was terrified and anxious, and I could not sleep like that, right? And so I used this intervention. I used it twice. It took me a minute total, and only because it was my first time ever using it. I yawned the first time through. I fell asleep the second time through and never had that problem again. I woke up the next morning and I was like, what else can I try this with? And I used it like that Windex. And anyway, never mind. Movie reference. So I got a dramatic result. But I've used it a lot for a lot of things, and I get mostly subtle results, but I know the process, I know what I'm looking for, and I know I'm getting results every single time. But if you don't know, sometimes people get this and they're like, I don't know if it's working, and so they'll just stop. But the subtle results and the dramatic results are all great for your survival system. They're all creating shifts. They're all helping it function, helping your brain function really, really well, regarding whatever you're focusing on. So I hesitate in that because sometimes, getting close to gold and walking away from it, you don't ever want to go back to the gold. And so I don't want you to go towards it and doubt so much that you overlook something that is incredibly powerful. So if you're going to try that, I want you to try it without judging or, getting off in the weeds or letting your perfectionism come up and be, I don't know if I'm doing it right. You cannot do these wrong, except for by not doing them, as far as I'm concerned. But if that's something you want to try and you want to learn, go ahead and do so. But I will tell you, you will need a deeper strategy. And if that's something that you're like, these are great, and what else can I do with these? Grab a spot on my calendar. We'll talk about it. This is how I help people eliminate symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress in 2 to 6 months instead of 2 to 6 years, because I hold together a framework of doing this that people can get in and dance with and learn how to use them very, very deeply at multiple levels quickly. And so anyway, that's available to you. And yeah, so I want you to listen to your body. You're going to get more out of working with your body than you are working with that part of your brain. And I love that part of the brain. That's the part of the brain that does the healing work, but it's blocked. And your body can be one of the pathways to get it unblocked and to really get a lot of healing and to notice big changes. One of my clients, she has a lot of racing thoughts and circular thinking, and she'll get caught up in there, and she'll take a whole day and a half to get out of that spiral. And then when she gets down, she'll get right back in, right? When we clear these things from the body, that stops immediately. I kind of think of them as packets that go in your body, and they're like little coding pieces, and they go in there. And when you pull them out of there, it's just the program's done. And so that's one more area that they won't fall down that hole. And so we just clean that area up, sewed it together, who knows, laid some cement over it. I don't know what we did, but we got the brain to do the healing work that it does, so that it's not something that you just fall through anymore. And now she can walk through that. We're still working on other things, right? We got 2 to 6 months. So that's what we're doing. But it's cool because now she's got more function. She's got more areas that she can walk on in her brain without falling into them as frequently, into these holes. And that, immediately makes a huge difference. And then over time, over a week, it's a whole nother thing. Over 2 weeks, it's a whole nother thing, right? So this doesn't have to take a long time, and you can really, I can't go on about that enough. I mean, I have some clients that today, so beautiful, just tell me how much this has changed their life, and spent more than 40 minutes going on and on and on and on with me about how much this has changed their life, how grateful they are, how proud of themselves they are, and so I know that that's available for you. And so I encourage you to grab that. Do it. Take your steps. Follow your heart. Listen to what your heart's telling you, because it's a little different than what your head says. Your head says yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Our hearts are like, I want that so bad. Let's go this direction, you know? And if you listen to that, a lot of times it's really clear, because your brain will go either way with that, you know? So that's it for me. I didn't even think I was going to go live today, and 39 minutes later. Okay, you take care, and I will talk with you soon. Bye.